What is up, guys? Emergency Three Amigos podcast here. It's Chris. It's just me in today's episode because I watched the Summer Games Fest, a little bit of it, and at the end of the presentation, they closed with The Last of Us Part 1 Remake, the worst kept secret in gaming. This game has been, pretty much all but confirmed, which they did today. They gave us a release date, September 2nd, and I'm a big PlayStation fan. PS5, I got it, all that stuff, gaming in the next generation, whatever you want to call it, and big fan of The Last of Us, huge fan. First Last of Us game, one of the greatest games ever made, easily. If it's not in your top 5, you probably haven't played it. And this was rumored, this Last of Us remake, and I remember the first time I heard the news, I was a little confused. Because when they first announced this, which I think was maybe a couple years ago, the first thing that came to my mind was that's not that old of a game. Generationally speaking, in terms of video game generations, I guess you could say it's, quote unquote old because it came out on PS3. And Naughty Dog actually hasn't done any PlayStation 5 games, because I guess this is what they've been working on. I don't want to get into the rant right away here, but I guess let's start with the positives. The positives is that the game looks beautiful. When it first came out, Last of Us was one of the best looking games on PlayStation 3. Last of Us 2 is one of the best looking games on PlayStation 4. And this remake, remaster, whatever, they don't want to call it either because it's not on the actual title. It's just Last of Us Part 1 now. It looks good. It looks really good, and it should look good because it's on the PS5. It's on next-gen hardware. This is only going to be on the PS5 if you don't include the game being on the PS4 and the PS3. It's going to be on PS5, and it looks amazing. As it should. The box art also looks amazing. Beautiful. I wish that had been the box art for the first one because it looks great. And there's this, I don't know, there's something about these PS5 cases with the blue and the white at the top. Just looks really great. Anyway, it's really all the positives I have to say. And, as a PlayStation fanboy, the one thing I refuse is to not, when Sony's doing weird stuff, you gotta call them out. And this is an instance where they need to be called out because there's a lot wrong with what's happening here with this Last of Us remake. The first thing is that, I'm gonna be honest, while it does look good, it doesn't look like night and day. I mean, with a lot of these games, sure, you could pull up screenshots and you compare them to screenshots from a game on PS3, and of course, it's going to look way different. But in motion, the stuff that they showed us in motion, it didn't look that different in terms of detail. And again, the still frames looked super detailed, and the game was running super smooth at 60 FPS. 60 FPS, though, that is a free patch. That is, they have given free. They gave Last of Us 2 a free 60 FPS, 4K, all that stuff. That was a free patch. So that leads me to the big problem I have here, which I think is probably a problem that a lot of people are grappling with right now. So we're all fans of The Last of Us here. This is being sold for $70. This is being given the full next-gen complimentary price, $70. That's insane. I know that Naughty Dog has been apparently spending all of their time remaking a game that's barely 10 years old, but $70 is a slap in the face. This is a game, by the way, that, first of all, physically you can get this game on physical for $10 to $20. This is part of PlayStation Hits. This is on PS4. It's backwards compatible. You can pop it into the PS5. $20. All the DLC. Is it going to look as good visually as this does now, all the detail? No. Is it the same game for $50 less? Yes. And it gets even more confusing because not only can you get this game physically for between $10 and $20, but if you are on PlayStation 5 and you have PlayStation Plus, this game is free. This is part of the PlayStation Plus collection. It's going to be part of the new PlayStation Game Pass thing that they're launching next week. It's free. Same game, free. Does it run at 60 FPS? Is it 4K? Does it build from the ground up for PlayStation 5? No. Is it the same Last of Us game? Same story, same characters? Exactly the same. All the DLC, all that stuff. I think what's a little confusing is that it feels like if this remake was, I would even go as high as 50, but let's say this was between $40 and $50. I think a lot of people would be, spamming W. They would be saying, this is great, this looks great, definitely going to pick it up. I know personally, I would be way more interested at $50 because allegedly this is coming out the same year as God of War 2, which is also going to be $70, and that's a brand new game. The price point is kind of insane. It's also kind of insane because this game, came out already 2 other times on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 3. And so if you are a PlayStation person who mostly games on PlayStation and all that, you've very likely already played Last of Us. It's incredibly likely that you have already played this game. If you haven't, you are probably not going to shell out $70 for the remake version, because if you really wanted to play the game, you can get it for 10 to 20 bucks. The game's on sale all the time, most of the time. Best Buy, Amazon, Target, it's on sale for $10. And like I said, if you don't want to buy it physically, it's on the PlayStation Store for free or also that same sale price. I think something I keep coming back to as well is like when Final Fantasy VII Remake, which put remake on the literal box art and the title of the game. When that came out, that game looked absolutely gorgeous. Still looks gorgeous. They put it on PS5. It looks amazing. Free PS5 60 FPS patch, by the way, because most of this Last of Us Part 1 stuff, part of the reason it looks so good is that it was running at 60 FPS. Like if you take this same footage and they say we only have it running at 30, I think the reception's probably not very positive. It's running at 60, everything looks buttery smooth, great. But when that Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, I played it, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic game. It's a fantastic game when it was at 30 FPS. It's even better at 60. But that game looked beautiful because the original Final Fantasy VII is super old. Like, the game is really, really old, and it doesn't look good. It's like on incredibly old technology, ancient graphics engines. For the time, the graphics and the cutscenes looked good for the time, but when they brought the remake out, it was, it looked absolutely mind-blowing. Like, you're comparing it to what these games used to look like. But that game was really old. So a remake of it that looked up to present-day standards was so welcome. And like, maybe this is part of me just like not wanting to feel old, but like, why? Okay, they have the TV show coming out, which is following, I think, most of the events from the first game. Maybe they'll add some things here and there. Maybe they'll take stuff out. I don't know. They might. We have to wait and see. So maybe some of this is to attempt to tie in the show with the newest version of a Last of Us game, since Last of Us 2 is a couple years old now. It's frustrating because at the same time, Last of Us 1 also had some great multiplayer. So are they including multiplayer on this $70 full price next gen game? Because you're going to get those servers back up and running like when they've been putting off Last of Us 2 multiplayer for years. And they pulled through to Summer Games Fest with one piece of concept art. A single piece. Naughty Dog has been silent for years on what their next project is. And it's like, people were excited for Factions, which was going to be part of Last of Us 2. Now they're saying it's going to be a separate game, which I'm sure based on this means you'll get to pay for that one as well, even though it's supposed to be part of the second Last of Us game. So it sort of now feels like you might be getting less content with the new, quote-unquote, new Last of Us game and paying more money than you could pay to play the same game for free. And this is kind of weird because I'm trying to think of another scenario like this, and I'm having a lot of trouble. Because if there's another situation where a game was remade, remastered, after 10 years, not named Grand Theft Auto 5, like, dude, that's the, like, even more depressing part. Is Naughty Dog becoming Rockstar? Like, not from a microtransaction standpoint, but this is pretty close. I mean, we're talking about full $70 price tag. I'm pretty sure the GTA 5 PS5 version is like $40. And like, okay, isn't that kind of crazy? Like, didn't GTA 5 and Last of Us Part 1 come out around the same time? And the PS5 version of GTA 5 is, I think, $40, which they claim they have made a bunch of additions to that as well. And they're charging $40. And this is Rockstar. This is like Take-Two, whatever, however you want to slice it up. One of the greediest corporations in the world currently. They're charging $40 for their PlayStation 5 version of the game. And Naughty Dog's charging the full $70, which is, first of all, insane. I mean, a $10 jump from 60 to 70. 60 is already too much, man. You're talking to somebody who bought most of their games on sale. Like, 70 is like, I got a plan for that shit. Like, I got a plan, like God of War 2, okay. Like, I think I can make that work, but like, had to skip Horizon. I think I had to use like a gift card on Ratchet and Clank. Like, someone got me a gift card for Christmas, had to use that on the game. Like, that kind of stuff, bro. 70 is crazy. It's expensive. So now here we are paying $70 for a game that's being remade, that's not old, and the original versions of it are still purchasable. And not only that, they're like part of the PlayStation service, right? Like, if this was Best Buy and Target and all these other stores physically selling, you know, GameStop selling PlayStation 4 copies of the game still, and that was like the only way to get it, that's one thing. But it's roped into PlayStation's own online service. Like, you can get the same game that they're going to try to sell you for $70. You can get that game for free. That's insane. So, like, who is this for? Is this for, like, because now you're really splitting, like, you're really starting to split the customer base here. Because, like, I'm a big Last of Us fan. I'm not paying $70 for this game. And I'm going to be completely honest, because that new PlayStation Game Pass service is coming out within the next, like, week or so. This has future PS5 free game written all over it. Like, they know that they need content for that in 3 to 6 months. Let's say January, right? If they want to kick off the new year big, it would make perfect sense for this to be the big free PS5 game. By that point, it'll probably be on sale anyway. I could totally see them, at least for the month, letting this be the free one and then putting it back up for sale, that sort of thing. The other thing that's even crazier, there's a $100 version of this game. Like, there's a $100 collector version, Firefly edition of a game that came out 10 years ago. And they're gonna sell it to you again for $100? Dude, like, I don't want to tell people what to do with their money, even though that's probably what this sounds like, but like, $100, bro, go on the store, download the game for free if you really want to play it. If you really want to play this game, you can get it for free. If you can't get it for free, you can get it for $10. Like, I don't know who this is for. I'm glad to see that Naughty Dog was working on something, because I'm not going to sit here and act like they are not one of the greatest game developers of all time. And I think that's part of the frustration, is like, if you're a fan of Naughty Dog, if you're a fan of a lot of the games they made, like Crash Bandicoot, Uncharted, Last of Us, all that stuff, all throughout history, to find out that after 3 to 4 years of silence, that this is what they were working on, is like, it's just a bummer. Like, this is a bummer. I'm kind of disappointed. It's also like not, this is just like a Summer Games Fest thing. Like, it's not good if this is your closing game. Like, if you're closing with a remake of a game that's not old, that's that's rough. That's a rough lineup, man. I mean, this would have been maybe a decent opener, and then you got something big, maybe a little bit of Starfield gameplay. I know the Xbox showcase coming up, but, tease us. But now, man, this is the closer. This is lame. This is a lame move by Sony. They're charging you full price for a game that they are also simultaneously giving away for free. You can make all the comparisons you want visually. I'm not going to argue with you that this version looks better, but not by that much. Like, The Last of Us didn't come out on PlayStation 1. Like, didn't come out on Sega Genesis. Like, this technology is not, like, that far in the past. I mean, these are games that looked good at the time. Then they brought it to PS4. That's the other thing. There's not even a gap. It's not like this was on PS3 and that was the only way to play it, and if you didn't have PS3 anymore, you couldn't play Last of Us 1. Here's your chance. It's like it's already up for PS4. It's backwards compatible. This is all very frustrating. I think what frustrates me more is that when this sort of stuff happens, and now you're starting to see it where they're taking the remaster, remake vocabulary out of the announcement, and using more buzzwords like built from the ground up. It gets everybody excited, makes it seem like it's a new thing, even though it's not. I worry that this is going to become a trend. There are definitely other games that, at first, and this is usually what Sony does, right? They lead the charge. They're like the Apple of the video game industry. Apple takes the chargers out of the box. All of a sudden, everybody else starts doing it too. Now nobody gets a charger anymore. This feels like everybody was giving out those free 4K, 60 FPS, VRR, 120 hertz refresh. All those updates were coming out for free. And, we thought maybe with the Spider-Man PS4 game, maybe that was just a one-off of like, that game was $30. It's, looks really great, and they did all the lighting and all that stuff, but it wasn't $70. It was tied into the Miles game, but you could still buy it separately if you had Miles. You could sort of quote unquote upgrade to the Spider-Man game. It feels like this might be the slow death of the free patches, the free update patches, because if this game sells, then you can bet that Sony is going to start looking at other exclusive games they've come out with over the years, or other companies are going to start looking at exclusive games they've come out with over the years. Not exclusive, but just like in general, big third-party games. And they might say, hey, instead of giving out a free update, why don't we just, remake the game and tell everybody that it's like way different now, even though it's not old. And I think that's like, remasters used to feel sort of special or remakes used to feel really special because it's like a game that looked terrible when you compare, and then they like remake it present day and you're like, oh my god, this looks amazing. This is what I always imagined. And now it's like games that looked great and they're being remade, not just remastered. They're not just giving it a, fresh set of paint here. It's being, they're saying that they remade it, which I guess technically you did, but boy, I don't know, man. This sort of feels like a scam. That's everything. Three Amigos podcast emergency episode. Don't hate me too much. I'm trying to keep it real, man. I love PlayStation. I love Naughty Dog, but I don't know. Something about this game just giving me some bad vibes, and don't be surprised if it shows up in the PlayStation Game Pass subscription service in a few months. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and I'm out.